Mercurio, who will be giving her CC10. Danielle is an intuitive astrologist and transformational life coach. She is incredibly humbled and inspired by her Toastmasters journey and ready to take her speaking skills out into the world. The title of her speech is Little Lion Heart. Danielle.
So I always find it so interesting that we suppress the things that we love more than anything else in this world. How we avoid our dreams and hope that maybe something easier will come along, or something newer, or fresher. And yet they still keep haunting us over and over again. Oh, life. Madame Toastmaster, my fellow members and treasured guests, tonight I'm going to talk about how I went from being a little lion-hearted girl to a full-blown urban gypsy. My Toastmasters journey started 2 years ago. At the time, I was trying to make my coaching business work. I was about a couple months in, and I was ready to inspire the world, teach people how to build confidence, get people to really just jive with what I was ready to inspire, how I was ready to empower, how I was going to make people shift. And so I would come to Toastmasters as a guest, and I would spend hours upon hours trying to perfect a 5-minute YouTube video. There was a day I spent 8 hours on one video. 19 people watched that video. I would kill for a like on Facebook or someone to read a blog post. I had to eventually take a job in corporate so that I could pay my Toastmasters fee. That's the point I was at. So I was basically at my coaching rock bottom. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to make this thing that I was supposed to do or that I felt called to do into something. And I realized a lot of what was happening was that there was a disconnect from the person that I was destined to be, the person that I had felt from a young age. And we can go back to that time, little Danielle at the grocery store, Ralph's in California, about 7 years old, at the grocery store with my mom. And at the time, they used to have in the aisles where the gum is and the magazines, they would have these little scrolls. And on these scrolls, you could look up your birthday, and then there'd be this really funky name that would go with it. I was curious, so I looked, and I saw that mine said Leo. I was like, this sounds awesome. I want to read about it. So I showed my mom. I was like, I want to get this. She took a look at it. She looked back down at me and was like, that is not for you. So I was like, all right. So I waited until she looked away, and I put the scroll in my pocket, and we went home. And I still remember that day, going into my room, closing the door, making sure that I had full privacy. And my little fingers kind of moving through the scroll, trying to get the tape off and being oh so careful. And as I unscrolled this piece of paper, I started to understand my fate. A Leo is someone that is a leader, someone that is bold, theatrical, impulsive, seductress, independent, fabulous. And I was like, oh man, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a Leo. And so I let this doctrine, this scroll, this thing that was telling me something that felt so right within me, that felt so real. I didn't really understand on a grand scheme what astrology was, but I knew there was something to this, and I knew it was something I was going to grow up and into. And so throughout time, I became more fascinated with the idea of Leo, more fascinated with the idea of astrology, studying my friends, what they were, looking up my crushes to see what they were, see if we were a good fit. Usually we weren't. But it kept me going, it kept me interested, it kept me fascinated. And in turn though, my life was passing me by, and I realized I'm not becoming independent, I'm not becoming fabulous, I'm not becoming a leader, I'm not becoming this bold individual that I'm supposed to be. I'm confused. And so eventually I got to a place where I did hit my first rock bottom. I realized I wasn't taking care of myself. I realized I wasn't loving who I was. I was losing sight of that because I'd become so fixated on the judgments of everybody else that I lost sight of my Leo heart. And so in time, I got help, got back in that space of feeling really good, really strong. I'm gonna help other people now. I'm gonna show them the way. And so that's where I put myself in this coaching box, and I put myself back in rock bottom again. And I realized that what I was doing was I was trying to make coaching work, yet again, to the judgments of others, to the way other people thought it should be, trying to adapt myself just so I could get a client. I was taking people that were so not in my zone at all, but just was trying to make it work in one way or another. And there was this little part of me that was like, well, what about astrology? What about astrology? What about astrology? And I was like, no. Nobody is getting that. That is too woo-woo. It is too out there. I will not be reputable to be able to do that. So I kept trying to deny my fate and basically say that I was going to be the one to help other people step into their greatness, to find their path, to not worry about what anybody else would think, that they should do what they believe in. Yet I was being the cowardly lion on the side saying, it's okay for you, but it's not okay for me to tap into that. And here's the thing, the more that you avoid your fate, the more that you deny what your passions are, whether you realize them or not, you feel that lingering constantly. You feel like you're coasting through life. You feel so disconnected and so in question. And that was just coming up over and over and over again, until eventually my horoscope told me that I needed to start Kundalini yoga. So I did. And from there, I started to get into other New Age activities and spirited affairs and meet people that actually were into this New Age concept, that liked talking about astrology and their signs. And in that space, I started to grow my confidence. And in that space, I realized that as your consciousness expands, as you allow yourself to be in what it is that you are destined to be into, then your world will open up too. Your path will expand. You will be given exactly what you need in turn. And so then all of a sudden I was getting invited to parties and I would be the one reading tarot. I never read tarot before. I was the astrology girl. But next thing I know, I'm at the store buying a deck of tarot cards and I'm showing up to the party and I am reading people's fate. And from there it turned into people wanting to book me one-on-one, even for astrology. And again, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I only know what I know of astrology. I don't know how to read it for you. But fate will have a way of just making it work on your behalf, and it did. And so with each session, I would get stronger and stronger. And from there, I started to realize, oh yeah, that coaching thing, that can be weaved in too. And so before I knew it, I was becoming this intuitive astrologist and coach where I was able to take people's blueprint, these inherent things that happen when we are born. We take our first breath. We are influenced by the planets and the archetypes of the zodiac. They influence in a certain way. And I was able to uncover what that meant. I was able to tap into the secret grid of your soul and not only tell you what it means, but then tell you how to actually make it a reality, how to work through it. And so something really magical happened in that. And from there on out, my journey in Toastmasters expanded. I felt cool to talk to you guys about this stuff. One day I had Simon up here with the pictures of the planets, holding them for me. But it was cool because I felt ready because I was confident in what I was doing. So if you ever find yourself in that space where you're just questioning what is my purpose or why am I not allowing myself to tap into what it is that I love, what I am truly fond of, then I invite you to spend a little bit of time alone. Spend some time on your own, cultivating, curating what it is that you might be interested in if nobody else were to ask. Minimize those judgments that you're perceiving from the outside world. It's very likely that the judgments that you think that everyone is making of you is really just a reflection of your own thoughts. It's really just a mirror to what you are scared to do or what you are afraid to show up for. Another thing that you can do is just be patient with it all. When you do start to visualize what that big picture may be, allow the patience to come through for you to catch up to it. Allow yourself to be supported and realize that by taking your time, you get more clues, more clarity, and in turn, more confidence. And if you're feeling really stuck, you don't know where to turn, you don't know what to do, I still do one-on-one sessions. Astrology, look me up. I got you. So in closing, this amazing adventure that I've been on with Toastmasters, from starting from the very beginning, from being on rock bottom with my coaching, not sure how I'd pay the rent, not sure how I'd pay my membership fee, to being allowed the space and the room to really start to cultivate what it is that I could really do and have the confidence to back it. So I encourage you to do that as well, because your fate will always follow you. And the more that it does, the more that you ignore it, the more it's going to just feel like it's slipping you by. And the more you're going to just feel like there's a piece of you that's not honoring that little person that had that first spark of something when they were younger. So go out there, be with your fate, and just revel in it all. Woo! Yeah.